Racing's most well-known female driver is Danica Patrick. However, by 2017, something had gone wrong. Her finishes continued to falter. She was fired by her team. She also lost everything she had built in her last two races due to collisions and engine difficulties. She was dubbed a pioneer by some. She was initially overhyped, according to others. Beneath 312 Cup starts and years of unspoken pressure, the truth lay somewhere in the center. What was going on behind the scenes as her career fell apart? What caused the lady who transformed racing to feel exhausted and shaken as she left? The life of Danica Patrick starts on March 25, 1982, when she arrived in Bow, Wisconsin, and entered a world where motors were constantly buzzing in the background. Her parents, Beverly and T.J. Patrick Jr., were involved in motorsports long before she even wore a helmet. Her mother worked as a mechanic and participated in snowmobile races, while her father raced cars and motocross. Danica learned something from every wrench, tire, and oil stain in their garage, which felt like a second home. Later, they managed a glass firm and a coffee shop to make ends meet, but racing remained at the core of their identity. She gradually absorbed that rhythm, which became the song of her early years, until speed came naturally to her. Her tale felt broad and multifaceted since she was raised in Roscoe, Illinois, across the border, with a blend of Norwegian, Irish, French Canadian, Italian, and Native American ancestry. Together, she and her younger sister Brooke created a fake snowmobile track in their backyard since they both had that competitive spirit. Soon after their parents joined in, the backyard began to feel like a makeshift practice area. She gradually developed her intuition and learned how to perceive a machine in motion during those enjoyable racing nights. There was constant conversation about engines, strategy, and weekend races throughout the home. And that vigor kept her perceptive and inquisitive. As she grew older, she was able to interact with people outside of her community thanks to her multicultural background and familial warmth. Her parents used a lawnmower engine to build her first go-kart when she was 10 years old. Although it was simple, it was quick enough to get everything going. By the middle of the 1990s, she had entered the World Karting Association Grand National Championship and had won her class 3 times. Even though her hands hurt from grasping the wheel on frigid days, she persisted in practice, which is how she won. Every race helped her reputation in the community. It also demonstrated that, despite having basic gear and no major sponsor, she had something that could get her far. Those years provided her self-assurance and drive. By the time she was in her teens, she was already aware that driving was what gave her a sense of purpose. At that point, she was forced to decide between living the life she had always dreamed of and living a normal existence. In order to pursue a career in racing, she dropped out of high school during her junior year in 1998, received her GED, and traveled alone to Milton Keyes, England. She suddenly found herself in rooms with those that influenced Formula Racing when Jackie Stewart opened a few doors for her. She even met Jenson Button, one of the future F1 stars. For a girl who had grown up with snowmobiles and small-town karting tracks, it was a big step. England put her to the test. Living distant from home required her to pick up new driving techniques, tracks, and customs. She gained something from every challenge, though, and became a more daring competitor. When she lost sponsor backing due to reports that she led an opulent lifestyle, that bravery was put to the test. Whether true or not, the reports were devastating to her apartment, which was backed by Ford. Her father covered all of her racing costs for a whole year out of his own cash, which was a significant financial burden for a working-class family. Everyone in the family was put to the test at that time. But it also demonstrated how far they would go to win her. Her financial account didn't increase, but her resolve did. After some time, she was able to get sponsor support again and continued on her path, but she had to learn the hard way how vulnerable a profession can be when funding is absent. Her racing career in Europe started with the Formula Vauxhall Winter Series in 1998. At the age of 16, she entered a world dominated by male drivers with greater resources than her own. When she participated in the British Formula Vauxhall Championship in 1999, she received 31 points, placing her 9th overall. She was competing against more experienced drivers who had superior equipment, so it was significant for someone her age. She got harder with every race. Then, in 2000, she started competing for the British Formula Ford Championship alongside Andy Welch. She finished third in the points standings after competing in 14 events. Her second-place finish at the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch was the highest an American had achieved since 1972. More garages and paddocks began to ring out her name. By then, it was evident that she had the ability to succeed even in the absence of flawless vehicles and support. The season of 2001 was a blow to her. Due to inadequate support and uncompetitive equipment, she struggled in the British Formula Ford Championship and finished 25th with 10 points. Her frustration inspired her to think more broadly. She persuaded her father to approve of her return to the U.S. She joined Rahal's Barber Dodge Pro Series team in 2002. She competed in 5 races and earned 35 points, placing her 13th. Moving to America from Europe proved to be a game-changer, enabling her to work with more capable teams and set greater goals. She entered the American Lemon Series GTS class in 2003 and placed 23rd in the season with professional drive racing. She competed in 12 races at the Toyota Atlantic Championship, finishing 6th with 109 points. She demonstrated that she could go from sports cars to open-wheel racing without losing speed at the age of 21. Being able to comprehend whatever machine that was given to her made her adaptability one of her strongest qualities. In the Toyota Atlantic Championship, she achieved yet another high point by 2004. With 1 pole position and 1 fastest lap, she finished third with 269 points in 12 races. She got a place in the IndyCar with Rahal Letterman as a result of her performance. And by demonstrating her belonging, she quieted those who were muttering about favoritism. She demonstrated tenacity no matter how difficult the climb was on her path from karting to European Formulae and finally to IndyCar. Then 2005 came along with fame and terror. She ended the season in 12th place with 325 points while driving car number 16 in 17 races for Rahal Letterman Racing. However, she became quite unwell following the race in Japan due to hazardous exhaust fumes. She had to skip the next race due to respiratory issues brought on by the fumes, which also led her to the hospital. She was already in the news since she was the first woman in the modern period to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. However, the perils concealed behind the glitz of racing were exposed by this occurrence. It proved that the dangers weren't always apparent. The Indianapolis 500 was the race that made all the difference that year. She took the lead for 19 circuits in total, from lap 56 to lap 74 and again from lap 172 to 185. She was named Rookie of the Year and had the best ever 4th place finish by a woman. She nearly wrecked on the opening lap after a spin that could have finished her race, which is what made it so memorable. She battled her way back to the front after regaining control of the commotion. When she reached her qualifying speed of 227.04 miles per hour, audiences worldwide noticed a change in motorsports when they realized she was not only creating history but also vying for victory. She participated in 13 independent car races in 2006 and earned 302 points, placing her 9th. Alongside Rusty Wallace, Alan McNish, and Jan Lamers, she participated in a Daytona prototype for the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona that year. They were competitive until they were eliminated due to mechanical issues. However, she once again demonstrated her versatility. She continued to demonstrate that she could take on any racing task despite difficulties. Her performance with Andretti Green Racing in 2007 was exceptional. With 424 points, she finished 7th in 17 races and almost missed her maiden victory. She became the first woman to finish 2nd in an IndyCar at the Detroit Indy Grand Prix, where she led 9 laps. Despite the strain and crashes during the race, she remained composed and made good use of every chance. People remembered it because it demonstrated the amount of pressure she could bear without cracking. Then 2008 brought the turning point in her career. She took first place at the Indy Japan 300 on April 20th. She held off Helio Castrans and Scott Dixon, leading the last 25 laps at Twin Ring MGI. She saved gasoline early in the race and made her move when it mattered, which made her strategy brilliant. She realized how important it was, so she started crying as soon as she crossed the finish line. It remains unique to this day, having been the first and only IndyCar victory by a woman. Her triumph caused a stir in the racing community and elevated her to the status of a symbol of the power of perseverance. Danica Patrick's ascent in 2008 started with a level of concentration that got her through every stage of every song. With 379 points from 17 races that season, she placed 6th overall. Additionally, her driving style drew some attention from onlookers. Everything changed on April 20, 2008, at the Indy Japan 300. Following other drivers' fuel stops, she took the lead for the last 3 laps. She also became the first and only woman to win an IndyCar Series race in those last moments. It seemed enormous because it was enormous. Additionally, the head of the Indy Racing League stated that the impact was negligible despite critics' attempts to downplay it by claiming that her reduced weight provided her an edge. Her season said it all, therefore the noise didn't really matter. Strong performances at Homestead and St. Petersburg, 5 top 5 finishes, and the feeling that she had achieved something no woman had ever done before. At Iowa Speedway, the following year was different. The Iowa Corn Indy 250 saw her finish 3rd. Rather than commemorating the occasion, rumors began to circulate around the garage. Andretti Green Racing favored her, according to teammates. They claimed that because she was the advertiser's favorite face, she received nicer sets and more assistance. Despite finishing 5th overall with 393 points because of the hostility that permeated team radios and interviews, she was unable to shake the perception that her success was due to favoritism rather than skill. Her best results came from third-place finishes in Iowa and Kentucky. But the conversation surrounding her didn't stop. She wasn't asked if she was quick. This raised the question of whether she was permitted to be quick for non-racing reasons. The weight of her 2009 Rolex 24-hour Daytona changed after that. When the vehicle repeatedly broke down, the hoopla surrounding her debut made the disappointment even more acute. She joined Childress Howard Motorsports' No. 2 Daytona prototype. They were finished, given a DNF, and finished 46th after just 143 laps. She had finished 9th in 2007, so it hurt to be getting out of a car that never had a chance. She was reminded that day of the harsh nature of endurance racing and how easily things may go wrong. She demonstrated that she still possessed speed during her 2010 IndyCar season. With 367 points, she placed 10th overall, although Homestead in Texas presented a more convincing picture. She battled her way up to Texas, where she led 22 laps and finished 2nd behind Scott Dixon. She came in 2nd to Ryan Briscoe once more at Homestead. She included the 2 races throughout her career. 7 top 3 finishes in all. Although she lost in 2010, her consistent performance showed that she was still capable of finishing first. Even yet, something felt off because everyone could see that her focus was already shifting to NASCAR. 2011 then arrived. She was hit by a combination of tragedy, change, and fresh pressure that year. She had 314 points from 16 races, placing her 10th overall. However, the season's last race in Las Vegas altered the mood. Dan Weldon was killed in a huge collision involving 15 cars that halted the event early. Everything felt muted after the crash, which occurred while she was jogging mid-pack. Later on, she talked about how hard that struck her. She entered the NASCAR Nationwide Series the same year, and in her maiden race, she finished 26th in Kansas. Critics predicted that she would be crushed by the change. They claimed she lacked the instincts needed for stock cars. Her 2011 season, which was marked by both sadness and the beginning of a world she didn't completely comprehend, turned into a pivotal time in her life. As her divorce from Andretti Green Racing became apparent, the pressure behind her move increased. She made a decision that she knew would offend people due to contract difficulties, dissatisfaction, and her attraction to NASCAR. She would encounter a mountain she couldn't ascend, according to team owners and pundits. Some believed she would never be able to compete with drivers who grew up in a culture of stock cars. She nevertheless signed. That was audacious. It was bold and demonstrated her willingness to leave a location that had previously defined her. She started her NASCAR career sooner than most people realize. She joined JR Motorsports and competed in 13 races in the No. 7 Chevrolet in the 2010 Nationwide Series. On lap 15, she crashed on her Daytona debut on February 13. She received 58 points and finished 35th. That season, her best result was 19th at Homestead. She crashed out in 4 of her first 5 starts and ended 43rd in points with a total of 132. She only placed first in 3 races. She also tried K&N East and ARCA, placing 45th and 85th, respectively. Because of who she was, every mistake she made headlines, making the learning curve feel severe. Still, she became the talk of the media, and her bright green GoDaddy car became one of NASCAR's most photographed vehicles. She participated in 12 races across the country in 2011 and ended 26th in points with 3D21. Her best results were 12th in Phoenix and 14th at Daytona. The fact that she accomplished all of this while competing in a full 17-race IndyCar program astounded more people. No novice did that. The brutality of the grind was evident in her outcomes. She finished in about 28th place on average in NASCAR. Scheduling issues even caused her to miss important races at Darlington, Pocono, and Dover. However, she beat Sarah Christian's 62-year-old record for the highest result by a woman in a national NASCAR event when she finished 4th in Las Vegas. She was able to overcome the noise and demonstrate her ability to go past limits that most drivers have never encountered. She completed the 2012 season with 33 starts and 838 points, good for 10th place in the final standings. Among the women in the series, it had the best ending. In addition to earning 2 top 10 spots, 8th at Texas and 9th at Bristol, she also received a pole. However, there were several crashes during the year, including 2 Daytona races and Jacques Villeneuve's hit at Kansas. She was criticized for being nothing more than a marketing hire. However, she concluded by saying otherwise. Although she acknowledged that she was disappointed with the season, she claimed it helped her learn more quickly and got her ready for the Cup Series. She also made her Cup Series debut in 2012. She drove the number 10 Chevrolet in 10 races for Stuart Hose. She averaged about 30th place and finished 62nd in points. 10th at Talladega was her best run. There, she was the first female lap leader in a Cup race. Although her debut prepared her for her full-time Cup season in 2013, critics continued to claim she was overhyped. She achieved 21 top 10 finishes in 2015, surpassing Janet Guthrie's record for the most by a female NASCAR driver. Guthrie possessed 11. However, the negativity persisted despite this milestone. Some said that sponsorships were the only reason she had possibilities. Some referred to her as a diva. Because her image garnered more attention than her accomplishments, she commented candidly about how the criticism followed her everywhere and how her achievements were frequently overlooked. She continued to open a door that had been closed for generations and to drive even after that. Everything reached a new height one day in February of 2013. She became the first female Daytona 500 pole winner on February 17. She completed the 2.5-mile course in just 45.81 seconds, reaching a speed of 196.434 miles per hour. Because they were aware that they were witnessing history, over 10 million people watched. She had the best Daytona 500 result of any woman, finishing 8th after leading the opening lap. In the past 30 years, her pole speed has been the quickest single-car Daytona 500 pole speed. The 2016 Talladega race followed, demonstrating the true dangers of the sport. Michael McDowell hit her from behind with 8 circuits remaining, causing her to spin and crash into the wall at almost full speed. In the cockpit, the vehicle caught fire. She reported feeling her breath leave her body and feeling as though her hair was on fire. She had severe bruises on her foot, arm, and chest. After that, she required X-rays, but no serious wounds were discovered. She described the crash as the worst of her career. Everyone was reminded of her true fearlessness. She later discussed the psychological toll her profession had taken. She claimed that the scrutiny and pressure caused her to feel 20 years behind drivers who were raised in stock cars. She claimed that the 36 race Cup schedule was exhausting. 9 grueling months with just 2 or 3 weekends off. NASCAR swallowed everything, she added, comparing it to the calmer cadence of Indy cars. She eventually became weary of the criticism and the burden of unwavering expectations. She left because the excitement had vanished in 2018. She claimed that she was no longer happy and that racing is generally a horrible experience. Her candor exposed the aspects of racing that are seldom spoken, the ones hidden under the noise and trophies. After 2015, Danica Patrick's tale slowly deteriorated, resembling the gradual fading of a brilliant light. With every passing season, her NASCAR Cup Series performance declined, and by 2016, she had finished 24th with 689 points. After just 36 races and 500 points, she fell to 28th place a year later. She felt more burdened every week. She had 11 DNFs and only managed one top 10, with an average finish of about 23. In the garage, the results sparked hushed conversation and continued to drive her toward the rear of the pack. By the end of 2017, the murmurs became more audible. There were rumors that Stewart Hose Racing will soon split. She was unable to keep up here, despite having previously created history in the IndyCar. The squad split appeared to be the only viable option as the frustration mounted with each race. This sentiment persisted into 2018. Perhaps a moment of magic to end the narrative, she desired one final chance in the Daytona 500. Instead, her car was involved in a multi-car collision on lap 101 that Chase Elliott started. Knowing that the moment she had envisaged was gone, she finished 35th and crawled out of the wreck. Kevin Harvick and Casey Kahn were also taken in the collision. A few months later, she joined Ed Carpenter Racing in the Indy 500 in an attempt to find closure. Driving the number 13 car, she aspired to retire from the sport at her own pace. She then finished 33rd after being forced to leave early due to an engine malfunction. 2 hard finishes, 2 final races. It demonstrated how anyone can turn against racing, even those who had altered its course. But even before that, her journey had been fraught with peril. When she first started driving an independent car in Japan in 2005, everything nearly fell apart before it had even begun. In her vehicle, she was exposed to exhaust fumes. She felt as though her body was no longer her own immediately following the race. She was unable to breathe properly. Her chest constricted. She was taken to a hospital after being hurried to the medical center. She experienced carbon monoxide poisoning symptoms, according to the doctors. She awoke shocked and bewildered, and she couldn't stop thinking about how nearly she had lost everything. That moment lingered in the backdrop of every triumph she pursued for years. She tried to remain calm as her NASCAR career came to an end. Her final Cup start was in 2018 while driving the number 7 vehicle for Premium Motorsports. She finished 43rd because the car had trouble from the beginning. The traditional issue that she was overhyped despite having 312 Cup starts was revived during that occasion. Some saw a trailblazer. Others witnessed a driver unable to turn celebrity into victories. She stood amidst all of that hubbub, admiring a career that broke down barriers but yet raising doubts. She felt exhausted by the age of 36, both mentally and physically. She had been conditioned by years of accidents, pressure, and unrelenting expectations. She acknowledged that she was shaken and prepared to leave. When she retired in 2018, she started working in the media. While some applauded her candor and others questioned whether she departed prematurely, she was aware of the burden she was carrying and made the decision to live in peace. There was equally as much upheaval in her personal life. 7 years after meeting Paul Huspenthal when she was 21 and recuperating from a racing injury, she married him in 2005. There was a prenuptial agreement and a commitment to maintain clarity before the marriage. She then announced their divorce in November 2012, one day after she was crowned the most popular driver in the National Series. She described it as irreparably damaged. There were no children or acts of aggression, according to the filing. In April 2013, it was finalized. She withheld personal information. She just continued on, letting the shock wash over her. She soon started dating Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 2012 saw the beginning of their relationship, which was made public in March 2013. They ran together. They engaged in competition. They spent 5 years together, alternating between private doubt and public grins. In 2017, they made a joke about becoming engaged on April Fool's Day. But underneath the humor, she subsequently acknowledged that, unlike him, she was prepared for something serious. The separation was formally announced by December of 2017. A month prior, Stenhouse's lonesome appearance at the NASCAR Cup Series Awards had sparked rumors. Both, however, maintained their decorum. Her racing career was coming to an end at the same time that their story ended. Her connection with Aaron Rodgers followed. From the outside, it appeared to be a harmonious relationship that lasted from 2018 to 2020, but in 2025, she disclosed that it had been emotionally abusive. It was the most agonizing time in her life, she claimed. She talked about feeling exhausted, becoming insecure, and drifting into a place where she didn't recognize herself. The split came abruptly. She was crushed. She gradually recovered with the aid of therapy. The discoveries stunned everyone and demonstrated how even the most well-known partnerships may harbor unspoken suffering. Rodgers never addressed the allegations. In 2025, she appeared to be lighter. On Instagram, she shared vacation pictures from Burning Man. Only smiles that suggested a new person had entered her life, nothing explicit or verified. Fans began speculating, and she made no denials or confirmations. After years of mental turmoil, she appeared to be entering a new realm and had a different energy. Another weighty layer was added by her health journey. In the hopes of boosting her confidence after racing, she had breast implants in 2014. Rather, by 2018, she began to have unexplainable physical symptoms. Her weight increased by 25 pounds. Her hair became thinner. She was constantly worn out. She started having irregular periods. She visited specialist after specialist. She discovered that she had thyroid problems and heavy metal toxicity, but no specialist could fully explain it. Every day, she took up to 30 medications. She gave gut healing a try. Despite her best efforts, nothing was successful. Her health steadily declined for 4 years. She was then found to have breast implant disease in 2022 following additional testing. The implants had always been a struggle for her physique. Everything was engulfed in inflammation. She was not unwell in the least. Her symptoms were all related to one thing. She made the decision to take them out in March 2022. The change was swift. Her face looked better in a matter of hours. Her pulse slowed. Her complexion turned more radiant. Her weight stabilized and her hair grew back during the ensuing weeks. Her menstrual cycles became regular again. She claimed that she felt more lucid than she had in years. It felt miraculous in comparison to the past, but she now rates her well-being a 6 out of 10. She tells her story to encourage other ladies to listen to their bodies if they sense anything is off. Her symptoms were so severe prior to their removal that she frequently thought she was fighting a deadly illness. She had weakness, dizziness, cognitive fog, joint discomfort, and leaky gut. She frequently felt as though she needed to visit the hospital. The symptoms brought back memories of the day she was poisoned by exhaust fumes in 2005. She realized how profoundly the implants had been influencing her after having that memory. Because BII can resemble so many different conditions, her tale demonstrates how perplexing it can be. She experienced more suffering in December 2024 after being scalded by hot water at Starbucks. She shared the pictures online, which showed her thighs peeling skin and bulging blisters. It was a sharp, continuous pain. She continued to share pictures of the bandages and the anguish of recuperating from something so ordinary yet so deadly during the healing days. Her candor sparked a discussion about safety and the frequency of incidents like that. She went to Dr. Daniel Eamon's clinic for a brain scan around the same time. She was curious to see if the years of racing had left any lasting effects. The scans revealed evidence of trauma. Even with helmets, they demonstrated how the brain moves inside the skull after collisions. The pictures startled her. They clarified her occasional periods of fog and her memory lapses. She now talks about brain health and works to educate other athletes about the true effects of years of stress on the body.